Hi, everyone, and welcome to Founder Friday. This is a series for from Microsoft for Startup, where we sit down with founders building what's next and talk candidly about the journey behind the technology. I'm Shish, and I spend my days working with founders across retail, consumer goods, and emerging tech while pushing the boundaries of how AI shows up in the real world. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Thea Myhrvold, founder and CEO of Getbee. Thea and I have been working together for quite a while, and we've engaged in several webcasts in the past as well. Getbee is a platform that's reimagining digital commerce by bringing real human conversations back to the buying journey. And this is the part that really excites me about what Getbee is doing. Uh, Getbee enables brands and retailers to connect shoppers with product experts through live video and chat, turning passive browsing into guided high conversation experiences. In a world today where everything is being automated and there's a lot of AI, Getbee reminds us that trust, empathy, and expertise still drive commerce. And it's great to have another conversation with you. So let's jump right in. I've known the Getbee solution for a long time. You've educated me quite a bit. But what I want to do today is really bring that out for our audience, for everyone out there that may not be familiar with what Getbee does, what problem that in the digital customer journey that led you to build Getbee. So I'd like you to actually tell us about what Getbee does and how it helps brands.
First of all, thank you so much for having me here today. And yes, that's a great way to start. So Getbee essentially enables any brand or business to do live video sales. So instead of talking to a chatbot, which is quite frustrating these days, you can actually talk to a real person on the other side. And especially in the world of AI and automation, talking to a real human being can seem like a luxury. So in any kind of consultative sale, so think real estate, insurance, furniture, home, maternity, skincare, any category where you really want to talk to a person in that purchasing decision, that's where we come in. So we're a full end-to-end software that enables that sort of guided expertise where you connect your real salespeople, so your existing sales team, and enable them to support your online customers in their sort of digital buying journey. And again, for a lot of retailers, if we take the classic example of retail, you train and you invest in the people who are in the store, but the store isn't necessarily always busy. So it's a way to merge the best of physical and digital and really leverage your existing team to improve that sort of buying journey when you're online remotely visiting as well.
I love that. And, even though I'm a huge proponent of AI and automation, I worry a lot about, what if brands completely lose touch of their customers, where all the interactions that brand is having is through an AI interface, and there is never a human engagement happening, or you never really talk to the brand themselves. And I think that human element becomes an extremely important aspect of how brands should be thinking about customer engagement.
Especially in the world that we're living in today where so much is automated. Commerce is fundamentally human. People buy from people, but how can you translate that in a digital way? And this truly bridges the physical and digital in a seamless way where AI can empower people and not replace people.
Exactly. And I love that seamless integration that you talk about as well. So Getbee is often described as enabling conversational commerce. In practice, what does that actually change for customers, and what does it unlock for brands behind the scenes? I know conversational commerce is a very, very broad term, so I'd love to hear what Getbee brings it.
Yeah, and to your point, there are so many definitions of conversational commerce. So for us, it's conversations that matter and the conversations that convert. And that's how we're thinking through conversational commerce. So with a solution like ours, although it's, human-led real video sales, we're doing things like transcribing the sales conversation, and we use the latest and the best technology in, powered by Microsoft, in support with Microsoft with something called ACS, Azure Communication Services. And that truly transcribes then the conversation. And, these aren't conversations that we're recording physically in a store, but we can then record the same kind of customer conversation online. So those trends, spotting those keywords, what questions do people have before they buy or don't buy? What are the pain points around things like price or size or color, whatever those key themes that you're looking for in sales conversations. Again, going back to the concept of conversational commerce, you can truly analyze this and feed that back to your marketing team, your sales team, your product team, and even use that data to train your AI agents or other AI solutions that you have, because then you're getting real, raw, and unfiltered data that we're not actually capturing otherwise.
I love that. And this is, I think, truly a great example of how AI empowers people and not just replace people, where all of the humans in the commerce experience are really empowered with all of the AI capabilities, the transcription and the intelligence and the data that is brought out while having that engagement. I love that aspect of what you're doing there.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So as we moved into selling to enterprise customers, and that's one of the aspects that we've been working together, what's changed about your go-to-market motion as Getbee began to scale?
The power of enterprise is scale, right? And so I think the beauty of a solution like ours is it can serve your mom and pop corner store and a small sort of brand to a large enterprise that serves a global audience. And that's the beauty of a partnership and the program that Microsoft offers for startups, is you can truly sort of service the enterprise segment and learn and collaborate with a partner like Microsoft, from everything from compliance to technical architecture to also having and structuring the right conversations with the right decision makers. So from that perspective, enterprise customers for us helps us also achieve global scale. So when we think about retailers, which is our segment, a lot of enterprise retailers also serve a global audience. So once you work with a retailer that has that kind of audience, you also achieve scale at a different level.
And you joined Microsoft with startups at NRS over the last couple of years, and it was great to meet you at NRS this year as well.
Yes.
Looking at the retail conversations coming out of NRS, what trends feel real and accelerating, and what, in your opinion, was more hype?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. And I think I asked you this question when I interviewed you last time as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think the fundamental, and I have to agree with what you said, I think the fundamental pain points and problems are still the same. Technology is just a solution or a tool that can facilitate or solve those problems. And, it's interesting. I met this retailer in line for coffee, and that's the serendipity and beauty of New York and NRF. And we were talking, and he was an older gentleman, but his family had been in retail for many years. He was second generation, so inherited the business from his family. He was saying to me, I'm almost nervous to ask follow-up questions because I don't know what all these acronyms mean. I'm in the business of retail, and so for traditional retailers, it's very physical. It's very brick and mortar. It's the physical experience. It's the physical retail store. It's the products. It's a very physical reality and not necessarily a digital one. So I do think there is a trend, and I'm seeing this across different, verticals within tech, that we're sort of, we're not that we're drinking on our own Kool-Aid, but we're reinforcing the same acronyms, the same terminology, and not necessarily breaking it down for what it means to the person that we're servicing, which is, in this case, the retailer. So I think there was a lot of hype in that sense around things like AI agents, although that's a big trend that's coming. But I think we need to make it more relatable and practical for the actual decision makers and users to truly not just understand, but also be able to implement and use and embrace with confidence, because otherwise it's sort of just like a, innovation checklist. Like, yep, I have AI. Yep, I have an AI agent. But what does it actually do? What does it actually mean? And I think that's the longevity of these kind of solutions, without it just being hype, but actually being sustainable. I think that's the key that we're shifting from. And I heard a lot of conversations around things like change management, which is quite positive because, again, that goes back to sustainability of these kind of solutions, right? It's not just hype, but it's also how do we actually embed this into our ecosystem or our infrastructure or our processes, which is different from what I was hearing the last few years, which was more let's test something quickly and get feedback quickly, which seems a bit more transactional and sort of quick. This is more long-term thinking and investment.
Yeah. There's a question. This might take a little bit of thinking, but one of the things that you probably encounter in events like NRS and others is you're meeting a lot of customers. And is there, specific customer moments or situations or use cases where you thought, this is exactly why we started Getbee, especially in an enterprise retail context, when you had this meeting. Maybe it was a use case you had never thought about that came to light in a customer conversation, or you got excited. This is the reason why we built this, the problem that customers are trying to solve. Was there moments like that you'd like to share?
Oh, absolutely. And it's so beautiful when those moments happen, especially for founders, right? Because when you have, in the world of startups, we talk about ICP, ideal customer profile. But when you have an ideal customer profile that truly has the problem that you're solving for, then that's a beautiful moment. So we actually spoke to a retailer that does a lot of sustainable fashion and a lot of bespoke fashion and tailoring. And that was a beautiful moment that happened at NRF this year because it was a big aha for me to see like there's a big shift in investment from the retailer side to think more sustainably, more bespoke, more tailored. And they have on demand tailors. They do virtual styling appointments, they do a lot of custom sort of couture and things like this. So when you have retailers who already operate with that process in mind, for us, that's a beautiful moment because, again, it's such a perfect fit. Of course, there are other situations that are also good fits, but it's such a it's such a satisfying thing for a founder when it comes inbound like that, when they truly get it and they come to you. You don't have to go to them. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. And I figure that every conversation you have with customers has that level of excitement because your vision and your dream is coming alive in a real customer scenario. So that's one of the reasons I said this will take some thinking
Yeah.
because every one of those conversations is probably exciting.
Absolutely. And it's beautiful to see the brands that are, that truly believe and invest in their people. Because again, our ethos is that, commerce is about people, it is human. So when you have that values alignment, that's also an inspiring moment that makes me proud as a founder.
So this is not the first time you're building a company. So we're switching gears here to as a founder and looking to scale. What is some of the advice that you give founders? What are the mistakes that you've seen repeatedly? What are the things that the top one or two things that you think would be great advice for founders?
Mm. So it's interesting. This is my third venture. And from the time when I first started versus the technology infrastructure and speed that you have today, that's changed significantly. So, what I will say is, we're living in such an interesting time where you can launch, test, and iterate very fast. And the technology that's accessible to people who aren't necessarily technical founders, that's completely changed and changed the game for a lot of creative ideas and creators in general. So I believe this is one of the best times to build a business from that perspective. That being said, it also moves very fast. So one of the things I would say is, once you start, because sometimes just starting is the hardest thing, the most important thing is to keep going and to be persistent and to persevere. But in that is to test and iterate quickly and get feedback quickly. Because I think something that I see a lot of founders struggle with is we're very comfortable behind a computer. We're very comfortable, sending an email or doing things again behind a screen. But behind every click, behind every purchase order, behind every, you know, person who's interested, there's people on the other side. And it's so important to get feedback from your users quickly. It's so easy to fall in love with product as a founder, but as a second or third time founder, you realize very quickly that distribution is your most important factor when it comes to speed and go to market. So finding a partner like Microsoft is a great way if you're servicing enterprise to think through distribution, but really unlocking distribution and understanding how to get to the right customer quickly is key so that you can also get feedback quickly, iterate quickly, and really work in that collaborative way. So I think, again, fall in love with your product, yes, but also talk to the customers to make sure that they fall in love with your product too.
That's very insightful and practical. Thank you.
Yeah.
For the last question, I would like to look a little to the future. So looking ahead, how do you see AI continuing to shape the future of e-commerce, and where is Getbee intentionally focused on as the landscape evolves?
Oh, I have such a philosophical answer to this question. I can talk for hours about it, but I think because there's so much happening in the world of AI, and I think there are two camps that we're seeing, especially on the VC ecosystem as well. There's a camp that's investing in AI replacing people, and you've had some sort of big campaigns and startups that have raised a lot of money in that camp. And then you have the second camp, which is, AI empowering people in the future of work, and that's obviously where we sit and where we're really focused. And I think, naturally you'll have some things that will lend itself more to automation. So repetition of tasks, something that I've heard from you as well, right? And then you have other things that are more luxury or bespoke, where again, you can't necessarily automate things like buying an engagement ring or a wedding dress, or like there's certain categories where talking to, again, a real person makes a big difference, but you can automate a lot of the tasks around that process for the salesperson. So I think we're doubling down on human experiences, because when the pendulum swings towards automation, you'll also have a counter reaction with physical experiences, human experiences. And that's where we aim to lead in that conversation as well. But it's a very philosophical and exciting time for, I think, humanity and to be alive from that perspective too.
Exactly. And that's your point about this being a conversation that could go on very long. There is obviously two camps, one camp that wants everything automated, and the other that, like you and I, that say AI is about assisting people to be better at doing things and not necessarily replacing them. So how do we become better versions of ourselves?
Yeah,
And that's what companies like Getbee really enable.
exactly. Yes.
Fabulous. This has been an amazing conversation. I'd like to close this with you actually talking about one, call out to why Getbee and why they should reach out to you, because I think conversations with you really open up the door on the retailers understanding the value of human interaction and the human element of commerce. So I'd like you to put in one last message before we close.
If there's anyone listening who's interested to enable your existing sales team or your existing teams to service your customers via live video, and you can learn from those conversations as well, please do check out getbee.com. And we would love to sort of map out and help you understand that digital customer journey and how we can improve that today.
Thank you very much, Thea. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.